So one of the things that these motherfuckers have been talking about is how the left violence, the left violence of the left, and the left is the violence, and the left is violence. And Charlie Kirk was 31 years old, and the left killed him because the left or something or other. Okay. Do you think any of them have any idea? I'm going to bring this up. Hold on. Do you think any of them feel that way about David Rose? Do you think any of the right are as upset about the death of David Rose? Officer David Rose. Officer David Rose was killed when a gunman showed up at the CDC and the CVS across the street, apparently thinking they were related. And in an act of right-wing terrorism, opened fire on the CDC, firing, a couple hundred bullets, and I think like 134 of them actually striking the building and people. This is David Rose. This is Officer David Rose. Officer David Rose, bless his heart and condolences to his family, is just as dead as Charlie Kirk. So, I want to be abundantly clear. In all this, the left wing does more violence than the right wing. The reason they think this is because they actively ignore the voluminous number of cases of right-wing violence. Specifically, this is a RFK Jr. right-winger, anti-COVID vaccine fuckhead opening fire on the CDC, on the building. It's just the staff and people working there. Because of right-wingers' attacks on Fauci and all that kind of stuff, and this idea that that's the central part of how they're going to attack and control the populace and all that, right? And some people are saying no, they don't know his name because he was black. I would like to venture that while that is a special aspect of this circumstance, they wouldn't give a fuck if he was white either. If a cop was killed by a right-wing shooter at the CDC, this is the one area where they don't give a shit about the content of his character, and they don't give a shit about the color of his skin. They're all about, cops and, back the blue and all that kind of stuff. But none of them are talking about Officer Rose. And Officer Rose, insofar as I know, and I love to be proven wrong, I suppose, never went on a podcast and said that if he sees a woman or a black person flying an airplane, he doesn't feel comfortable being on that plane. Pretty sure of that. Pretty sure that as a peace officer, Officer Rose just went where he was needed and died in the process. He died for what he believed in, which was the right of every American around him to live in safety and security. Officer Rose is dead. Officer Rose is dead because a right-winger shot up the CDC indiscriminately. Not targeted political violence, random, spraying political violence. And they won't bring him up. They won't talk about him. And I genuinely mean this. They wouldn't care if he was white either. Because the narrative about left versus right is more important to them in these moments. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't care. I see the thing about Jimmy Kimmel kids. I'm not surprised by that. And it's largely temporary. Everybody's shifting around. They're going to get out of people's contracts this way now that they can. Yeah. But flags were not at half staff because of the death of Officer Rose. Even on CDC grounds. Like, if you were president of the United States, wouldn't you think You know what? Officer Rose died protecting the people at the CDC and at that CVS across the street because the killer was a right-winger and therefore fucking dumb, along with being murderous and evil. And so we're going to lower all the flags at the CDC and the NIH facilities in his honor because of the people he sought to save. Not that he would have, not sought to save people in any other circumstance. And also, I would like to say, from my own point of view, that in the name of Officer Rose, if I could be so bold, fuck all the ACAB people. Because when you say ACAB and you flippantly post all cops are bastards, fuck the cops, cops and pigs and cops, you're not saying some, you're not saying the Chauvins of the world, you're saying all. And that means you own all. You own what you say. If you don't believe it, don't say it. If you do believe it, you mean he had it coming. In which case, fuck you. I will go to the mat with anybody over this shit. Stop it. Don't call for violence against your fellow human beings. If you're ever in a situation where you're confronted with a violent circumstance, you can defend yourself to the extent of the violence necessary to protect yourself or those around you. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. Yes, anybody who floats the ACAB bullshit, any of them, fuck off with that nonsense. It's gross. It's grotesque. And nobody else is on the hook for whether or not you're wrong or right or anything. That is your burden to carry, that you threw around all, and that includes Officer Rose. It also includes, I guess, the FBI agents that were killed in Florida a couple years ago, serving a warrant on a child pornographer who were shot through the door and killed. I guess it includes them too. I guess it includes every female cop that walks up and asks somebody to see their license and registration and it's just shot through the fucking window. Includes them too. If you're going to say all, own it. If you don't believe it, then don't fucking say it. Do better. Because you're spitting in his face and in his family's face when you do that. And if you're like, but I don't. ACAB is an indictment, not a sentence or an execution. It's saying they deserve it. Of course it is. It means the ramifications are such that they've got whatever it is coming, and all of them. No. Bigotry is fucking bigotry. It's garbage. It always will be. Do better. If you're trying to criticize bad cops and bad policing, then do it. Hal, you got the same fervor for cops that kill innocent people? Yes. Of course I do. And I don't say that all the people that get killed deserve it. All people that are shot by the cops are bad, right? You ever see me do that? No. Because all is a meaningful word. Yeah. Don't give me this horseshit that you're pro-peace or you believe in the rights of every human being and then say shit like ACAB. And if you can't see it, then why would anybody trust you to make a bigger decision about anything else? Your opinion, your belief about that. If you're that willing to be that dismissive of reality. Bicycle Mike says, I don't trust the police. Yes, you do. You absolutely do. You think you don't, you do. You know how I know? Because if they turned on their lights and they pulled you over, you would pull over. You wouldn't race to the middle of downtown, abandon your car, and climb up on a fucking roof and scream, they're coming to get me. You do. Sometimes you don't. And sometimes you feel like you have the right to not trust them, and that's fine. But when you start saying all, you get to be just as bad as anybody else, and you write off the value of human life. What happened? Just so you know, this is the police officer that was shot when the right-wing terrorist attacked the CDC and opened fire on the building, firing 500 rounds and hitting the building 140 some odd times. He was killed. And maggots are not up in arms about the death of Officer Rose. They're not upset. He's a victim of political assassination. He was murdered by someone who was trying to carry out their political will through the barrel of a gun, just like Tyler Robinson is alleged to have done. And they don't know his fucking name. And they won't. Because they're lying about their ethics and morals and beliefs. And just because they are inconsistent does not mean we have to be inconsistent. Other than that, I have no opinion. But I wanted to throw that out there in the name of Officer Rose. It's a terrible thing that he had a daughter and I believe another son, two little children, and his wife was pregnant with their third. They held the services for him at the First Baptist Church of Atlanta. And well, here, I'll show you real quick something. This is everyone signing a remembrance for David Rose. There was talk at one point that Melania Trump was going to show up, and there was also talk that J.D. Vance was going to show up. Guess who didn't? Both of them. And so when the CDC director was talking today about, RFK Jr. forcing everybody to, basically saying, you're either going to lie on my behalf and ignore the science, or you're going to get fired. And they all quit or said, fine, then fire me. One of the things that came up was this shooting. And it was amazing to me how few people made the connection between the shooting of David Rose and the shooting of Charlie Kirk. And sadly, the biggest connection is notoriety. In one case, the absolute saturation, and on the other case, radio silence. And right now you've got, RFK Jr. not only getting people like Officer Rose killed, but kids are getting measles. We got a 92% vaccination rate around measles right now, which means you got about 8% of kids at varying levels that could catch it and die from it, or die from complications from it later. Same thing with Hep B. So yeah, this matters, and like being dismissive of the reality doesn't get us anywhere. And writing off large groups of people and assuming the inhumanity of them is what the other side does, and I won't participate in it. And you know, I've been through this a bunch of times with people, but this is not something that's going to go away. This is not something I will be moved on. If you want to find somebody who's all in on this idea of, you know, categorizing human beings by their job and or their skin color, and saying they are good or bad strictly for those reasons, there are plenty of people who will bullshit you to the end of your days about that. But it's why I don't believe in royals and why I believe in humanity. Um, uh, Groove Dragon apparently is questioning my belief that the right wing has a higher call for violence than the left, which is clearly what's going on, and the ACAB stuff contributes to the violence against police officers when it does occur, in the same way that you know, the Roseannes of the world and stuff spin up people who would shoot up the CDC without directly ever calling for them to actually physically do it. It matters. So, so yeah, and also I don't know about the part where I'm supposedly wrong on the war on drugs, except that it has been restarted and actually done as a war now. So yeah. So anyway, so that's where I am on it, and I shall stay there. And people can come and try to knock me off this hill. It's not going to happen.